on Mr. Butler's farm. We were sharecroppers on his farm. And that's, I'm thinking about the year that 1929, or 28 and 29. Anyway, our grandmother and grandfather Daughtry lived with us. They left the farm. They were farmers, not sharecroppers. And they lived with us that year there. And I remember we had what you would call a curly. That's where you cook chicken out in a wash pot and put rice with it. That's what they call a curly.
A curly?
Well, if you read any of the Western books, you found that out. But we knew that from experience. And my mother always, she had a round pan about this big around. And it was about that deep. And she'd always set a glass in the middle of it. They set a few. That's what we made our own things. And she'd make a bake a cake in that thing, and it would be that high. And she'd put be pure egg whites and make icing to go on. And we'd fix the chicken in the pot, cook it out in the yard. And not just family.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy's brother and his family lived up at the end of the road lane from where our house was. Because you didn't have roads like you have now, you had lanes. Because nobody had cars hardly. But neighbors would get wind of that somehow. I don't know here. That's what was going to happen at our house that day. And people just riding by in the wagons and buggies and things like that, stopped wondering what was going on. And I had cousins that had musical instruments like guitar and violin and drums and things like that. And anywhere they'd see them, the news would be dancing. And we'd stay up half the night there with that pearly. We'd all fix the table and eat when it got done and everything. But it was always dark by the time it got done. But as you can see, we had an interesting life in a sense, but we made our own interest. Now that's just, I'm referring to one incident there about the pearly. I didn't never get one of Grandpa Daughtry. He was always with Daddy out in the field. You know, everything that we had to do, we made our own entertainment. And that's the whole gist of it. Well, if you read Louis L'Amour books and things like that, you get a lot of background on things like that. How the people lived in the country and the southern and the west and different things like that. And we used to at night in the wintertime shell our own peanuts and bake them, cook them after supper, and things like that. And we'd sit around and shell pecans to have for Mama to cook with, things like that. And then peanuts and corn, we'd shell the corn off of the cob into a pan, our lap. And we'd get around the fire, you know, and sit on the floor and things like that, pallets. And I have to say that we had a good childhood. I have to say that we did. And I've made me a go-kart a many a time out of a stick, a board about that wide, 2 to 3 inches wide. Put a coffee can lid on it for a wheel, with a nail and wrote it. And did you know children with this day will have stuff like that? Will have vault stuff.
Yeah.
That's true. They pick up things like that, cans and things to play with them. So I don't guess we had a bad life. We didn't have no money, and all the clothes we had, Mom made them. And one year, Paul and myself wore the same size. He was 2 years older than me, but he wasn't ever much bigger than me. And we had a pair of shoes between us. And if he went to school and wore the shoes, I couldn't go. And things like that. That sounds like Little House on the Prairie, don't it?
You
Well,
ever hide
that's
them?
about the way we come up, and that's why hard times won't hurt people like me.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, it's hard times next getting to be really spoiled times. And it's going to get worse. But it's going to be a detrimental worse.